Luffy's Gear 5 is the power of freedom, limited only by his imagination. After all, the more he laughs, the stronger he gets. However, some things catch our attention when we realize that he can affect the environment and enemies, literally turning them into rubber. But not only that, his allies begin to be part of Nika's animated and funny world. And now we have Bonnie replicating her powers, imagining a future where she is Nika. But what exactly does this mean? Want to know everything about the most broken Akuma no Mi in the entire world of One Piece? So pay attention, because I'm going to talk about it now. Hey guys, D-MAYSTER Anime's channel with another video for you. How are you doing? I hope you are all wonderfully well. I'm a little bit without voice. There was an event this weekend, but I'm here for us to talk about an incredible episode of Bonnie using the future of the crowd and transforming into Nika. I think this episode is very good, especially for those who are following the manga, to remember a certain power that inverts things, that spreads the power. Will Luffy be able to do this too? Well, let's go. Watch this video until the end, because there's a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of explained stuff that we end up forgetting. If you're new to the channel, watch it smoothly. If you like it, I ask you to subscribe. Now, if you're from the worst generation, then there's no way around it. Thumb up to give that strength. And now, with you, everything about One Piece. The story begins with a small flashback. Inside another flashback. Yes, almost like in the movie Inception. We have Kuma remembering one of his trips with the Revolutionary Army to the Kingdom of Goa. Kuma mentions that he realized how much Dragon knew about this country, and how the leader of the revolutionaries always visited a village outside the kingdom to observe a certain boy. Dragon, without hesitation, tells Kuma that if he wants to kill him, it is better to do it now. Kuma is shocked by the statement and asks the reason. It is then that Kuma learns something very important, something that would later be used against him himself. The boy Dragon was watching was Luffy. And his statement to Kuma is categorical. A son is a father's weakness. First, now we know how Kuma knew that Luffy was Dragon's son before everyone else. Even Ivankov didn't have this information when they were in Impel Down. And I'll be honest, the best part of this episode is, without a doubt, this scene with Dragon. It reminds me a lot of the scene of Buggy being resignified, when we discover why he is like this today, after abandoning his dream to bet on Shanks. It was one of the most brilliant twists in One Piece. Now, with Dragon we have something similar. Before, we saw Dragon as someone who abandoned Luffy, who didn't care, and was stained as a terrible father. Although it had been clear for some time that he had Luffy, after already being extremely wanted by the world government and needed to separate from his son, it was difficult not to judge him. But now Dragon gains new nuances. He shows himself to be a protective father, who always watched his son from afar. Just like Kuma is with Bonnie, Dragon didn't abandon Luffy. He protected him because he loved him. The job of parents, more than anything else, is always to protect their children. And this was the most difficult thing Dragon had to do, but also his greatest weakness. He ended up being an excellent father, even from a distance, and this shaped today's Luffy. Because Luffy never needed father figures. It's not like Usopp, who was afraid to meet his father because he chose adventure instead of taking care of his family. Look how interesting. If Dragon, recurrently, went to the Kingdom of Goa to observe Luffy, perhaps that's why Shanks didn't take Luffy with him. He knew Dragon was around. This revelation makes me think that Dragon was waiting for the beginning of Luffy's journey in the newspapers, and that's how he ended up in Logtown at the right time. Dragon wanted to see which path Luffy would choose, and was happy to see him choose to be a pirate, not a sailor. The first time Luffy appeared in the newspaper and received a reward was after destroying Arlong Park, and then he went straight to Logtown. This practically confirms that Dragon was taking care of Luffy during that incident, when he saved him from Smoker. And even more, Dragon has been watching Luffy for a long time. I always like to think that the lightning that hit Buggy in Logtown may also have been Dragon's work. After that, it's cool to notice how Dragon was present in each arc, spying on Luffy, watching from afar. But going back to the main flashback, we have Kuma arriving at Dawn Island. He enters Mount Kalubo and observes Luffy, who was 7 years old at the time. Luffy was practicing, in secret, his Gomu Gomu no attack, the same one he would use to defeat Arlong. Suddenly, Kuma receives a call from the world government. Luffy hears the sound and feels a scary presence nearby, but, when he looks, Kuma had already disappeared, using the power of his paw. I like this thing of feeling the presence of someone strong, because this is an embryonic type of observation haki, which we see long before the time skip. This appears right in Luffy's fight against Kuro. When Kuro uses the cat step, Luffy can already perceive it. It was a very early version of observation haki. Luffy's training in the forest was already expanding this perception capacity, which would later evolve into complete haki. Well, Kuma leaves Dawn Island to fulfill orders from the government. We see him helping a merchant ship that was attacked by pirates, making the pirates surrender. It's a shame that the order wasn't to retrace Shanks' steps to find the rubber fruit. But this did not prevent Kuma from recognizing Nika and Luffy. After that, we have the narrations of the letters that Kuma sent to Bonnie. He talked about how he loved her, and described all the beautiful and incredible islands he had seen, promising that one day they would travel together to all of them. In my opinion, this is the content of Kuma's Bible. That's why he always leafed through the book before sending someone to an island. But in the Sorbet Kingdom, all of Kuma's letters were intercepted and destroyed by Alpha. Bonnie waited for letters every day, but they never arrived. Here we see, well, the difference between Cypherpole and the Marines. The Marines have a kind of moral code, and empathy. Cypherpole has absolutely none. The Navy was made to serve the people, hunting pirates. Cypherpole, on the other hand, is composed of assassins, spies, and secret agents, operating completely outside the law to carry out the dirtiest jobs of the world government. Lucci himself says a phrase that illustrates this: "I want blood. While we are here, murder is justified." I'm glad that Bonnie managed to see some of these letters and their content when spying on her father's memories. After all, even from a distance, those words ended up reaching her in some way. During this period, Bonnie never revealed her Toshi no Mi powers to Alpha or the medical team. Queen Connie instructed her to keep this a secret, and it was a powerful card up her sleeve. On the other side of the world, we see Kuma visiting Vegapunk's laboratory. There, he meets Stussy's clone, who asks a curious question: who is more unhappy? A human without consciousness or a clone with consciousness? Vegapunk scolds her, but this statement is a foreshadowing. It may indicate that Kuma will not have a clone, since Stussy's pain in knowing that she is not the original reflects this question. Vegapunk explains that, as soon as the modification in Kuma is completed, he will no longer have memories or emotions. However, Vegapunk will keep his consciousness active until the last minute. There was 1 year left for the surgery to be completed. During this time, we see Kuma secretly helping the Revolutionary Army, but without speaking to anyone. Dragon and his friends knew there was a reason behind this silent behavior. In the Sorbet Kingdom, Bonnie celebrates her 9th birthday, but her father's letters have ceased. Another year has passed since her surgery ended, and she is 100% cured of the sapphire disease. However, Alpha will not let her out until her 10th birthday. Queen Connie discovers, in a bar in the city, that one of the medical team members let slip that Alpha and other members were, in fact, world government agents. She and the people of the Sorbet Kingdom realize something is very wrong and plan Bonnie's escape. It is at this moment that the future Bonnie Pirates crew is formed. In reality, they were not true pirates but rather fishermen who met Bonnie and Kuma as children and grew up in the Sorbet Kingdom. Jodio, Tatsu, and Potato took Bonnie to sea and helped her find her father. They transformed a simple fishing boat into a pirate ship decorated like a pizza, the prototype of the Jewelry Margarita, Bonnie's official ship. Connie and Bonnie exchange clothes. Bonnie sees natural light for the first time and passes the guards until she reaches the ship. However, Alpha recognizes her and chases her with Geppu. For attempting to escape, she could be punished. But this is where the episode climaxes. Bonnie remembers a day when she asked her father what Nika looked like. Kuma replies that he wasn't sure, but all he knew was that Nika's body was made of rubber and that he could fight however he wanted. This is wonderful. It shows that Nika is, indeed, a real deity who ended up trapped inside a fruit. And the fact that Kuma knew this and saw Luffy and Goa creates incredible connections. Kuma's desire to take Luffy's head in Thriller Bark may have been just a loyalty test to the crew. He saw Luffy use rubber and defeat Moria, and probably already suspected since then that Luffy was Nika. That's why he helped the Straw Hats escape. Returning to Alpha's attack, Bonnie uses her future distortion power on herself and chooses the future in which she became like Nika. In an epic scene, Bonnie delivers a giant punch to Alpha, just like Luffy's Gear 5. After that, Bonnie escapes the Sorbet Kingdom. The world government becomes aware of hostage Bonnie's escape, and that fishing boat transforms into the pirate ship of the new era, rivaling Luffy and the others of the worst generation. Without a doubt, the worst generation of all. Wow. We have a lot to talk about here. First, I really want Bonnie and Luffy's crew, okay? I'm being honest. Even though the manga already has some definitions, fine. But I really wanted her, not only because of the connections with Nika, but because she obliterated a CP agent at just 9 years old. That's insane, okay? You know Bonnie is becoming an incredible powerhouse when you see her mingling with these monsters. And to remember that she was already a supernova when she was only 12 years old, that's absolutely absurd. But let's get to the point. Bonnie became Nika, didn't she? Let's call her Bonika. This is indeed surprising. Bonika using Gear 5 even before Luffy. It's insane. What makes Egghead so interesting is that Bonnie is constantly somewhere else when Luffy activates Gear 5. And she only knows Luffy as the rubber man who ate the Gomu Gomu. She only heard about Nika from her father's stories. stories transmitted by the buccaneers from ancient times, who believed in a slave-liberating sun god. For her, Nika was just a legend, a deity. She had no idea it was, in fact, a devil fruit. At the beginning of the arc, she even asked Luffy what's wrong with his wanted poster. Why was his hair white? And Luffy replies that it gets like that when he's freer, but now it's different. I'm excited to see Bonnie witness Luffy going into Gear 5, where she will finally understand who is in front of her. And Oda is carefully saving this. Kuma will probably also witness this moment, even without memories or emotions. And that makes us very excited to see them both witness Luffy's heart beating to the rhythm of liberation, that same beat, the same music they danced to together so many times. Now to the main point. Bonika, with the power of the Toshi Toshi no Mi, breaks everything by allowing Bonnie to represent a future where she possesses Nika's elastic properties. First of all, let's remember what this distorted future is. It's the power where Bonnie ages into a possible future version, gaining a large, muscular physique. In other words, she transforms into a buccaneer, like her father. And how does she do this? She jumps to a timeline where she is Kuma's biological daughter, inheriting the buccaneer genes. It's the same technique she used to turn Luffy into a withered old man, the one Oda had already drawn in SBS as Luffy's wrong future. That version of Luffy where everything went wrong. So this implies that Bonnie's fruit doesn't simply age or rejuvenate people. It messes with alternative timelines, with possible realities. If that's really the case, things get very broken. This could even be the fruit's awakening. Why not? Vegapunk himself, a few episodes ago, was transformed by Bonnie into a child. But he didn't have the apple on top of his head. He really turned into a child, with brain and everything in place. This indicates that Bonnie distorts reality based on imagined timelines. And that, let's face it, is absurd. Now the question everyone asks, can she reproduce any devil fruit ability she imagines? I don't think it goes that far, okay folks? It's evident that her ability allows her to transform into any possible version of herself, or directly linked to her. She closely followed Kuma and the stories of Nika, so the futures she used are directly related to these figures. No replicating Loya powers or things like, say, Kaido's dragon, okay? But it's curious. A while ago I made a video about the possibility of Nika's powers being replicated by the Straw Hats. And this starts to gain stranger tones after we see that Bonika's the first character to replicate the powers of another fruit. And even more, in Luffy's own Gear 5, we have already seen other powers that are not typical of the fruit. Like, for example, the Red Hawk, where he uses fire. Law's Room Silence, which replicates Corazon's power. These powers may be related to the D. Are they tributes? Yes, but they can also be fragments of others' will. The Red Hawk symbolizes the flame inherited from Ace, created from rubber. Law's silence is a nod to Corazon and the will he carries. So it's good to keep these scenes in mind, especially for those who follow the manga and know about the big plot of resonating devilish powers. I'm not going to get into spoilers here, okay? I know many people have already read the manga, but there are also those who only follow the anime. But remember this plot of resonating powers. And why not imagine that Nika's powers of imagination can be something everyone can achieve? That would be fascinating. A fruit that distorts reality. It can be ridiculously powerful. I wonder, what are Bonika's limits? If there are any, this fruit could be one of the strongest in all of One Piece. If Bonnie can combine this with a haki that no one can predict, while using this power, she would become absurdly strong. Going a little further, there must be a connection between Nika and the power of imagination, at this point that Oda is trying to illustrate. Because imagination is the ultimate freedom in this world. Even if Bonnie doesn't really have Nika's powers, she can imagine a future where she is free and powerful. Remember what Vegapunk said? Every devil fruit represents a possibility of evolution that someone, at some point, desired. Luffy plus Nika's fruit is the most absurd combination possible. Because Luffy is creative. He is unpredictable. And Bonnie's distorted future is a representation of what one chooses to imagine. A choice of infinite possible futures. Giving a child the ability to transform into any future version of herself based on what she imagines, that's just broken. Because there's nothing more powerful than a child's imagination. And best of all, in the end, we all have that same ability to choose the future. Just like Bonika, only this power lies dormant in many people. When they awaken and realize this incredible power, fantastic things happen. After all, the future is yours. You are the one who chooses what you will become. And, want a tip? Take the path of a future where everything worked out for you. Very good episode, right folks? Fantastic. And I like how it connects with the current times of the manga. I'll even make a video later delving deeper into this aspect of Nika's powers being replicated by other people. I think this is incredible. Fantastic. The fact that the fruits come from desires, from dreams, and Nika is the one who transforms imagination into reality is a very curious hint. Want to know all the professions of Rogers pirates? I'll leave the link in the description or somewhere here in the video, and also in the pinned comment. Go there and find out. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, and if you have any theories, put them here in the comments. I really want to know what you think. See you next time. Thanks for watching.